Graduates, congratulations on this momentous achievement. Along with the faculty, staff, and the entire IPS community, I celebrate your passion for learning, your commitment to service, and this wonderful accomplishment. You've done it. Let's also offer a collective thank you to those who have helped make this possible. As you may now understand in a new way, it takes a village. To all those friends and family who have helped make this possible for these new graduates, we thank you. Graduates, your final assignment is to do whatever it takes to make sure those in your support network know how much they mean to you and how grateful you are. Because of their support, along with your persistent hard work, you are now a member of an exclusive community, the alumni of the Institute of Pastoral Studies and Loyola University Chicago. Let that soak in. I am Dr. Peter Jones, and as a faculty member for the last 8 years, I've come to know many of you well. As the Associate Dean, and now as Interim Dean, I have come to know many more. And it is my pleasure and my honor to speak with you and celebrate with all of you on this wonderful occasion. You began this stage of your journey having discerned a desire to serve, and you've followed through by working to ready yourself. You've completed your coursework, you've grown through supervised contextual experiences, and you've done the summative and integrative work of self-reflection to arrive at a mature self-understanding, a critical and constructive self-awareness that will be a foundation of your work in this world. The faculty and staff at IPS believe in you. I believe in you. And we can see that your communities, the whole world, is blessed by your presence, your witness, and your work. I would like to share a few words with you before you embark on the next step of your vocational journeys. It boils down to 3 pieces of advice. Cultivate attentiveness, embrace ambiguity, and practice courage. Growing up, there were few days when I didn't hear my parents or my teachers exclaim, "Pay attention." Now, I say it to myself. Habits of mindfulness and deep listening are sometimes a struggle, but I've found them to be utterly important. And the Jesuits will also tell you how important they are. Discernment doesn't work if you're not first paying attention. Yet there's noise all around us. Some of us have even developed habits that function to increase that noise. Managing media consumption, for example, has become, for many, a recurring spiritual struggle. How can we pay attention today? How can we be mindful of our inner stirrings and the world around us in the midst of all this noise? The process will be different for each of us, but we cannot avoid it if we hope to be faithful witnesses to our deepest beliefs. Attentiveness is a virtue, a good habit that gets easier the more you do it. And this is the first point. Find ways to cultivate habits of attentiveness. Set in place those supports that will help you endure in this practice until it becomes second nature. When I started to pay attention, really pay attention, I discovered that my world, inside and out, is a surprisingly ambiguous place. Very few matters have turned out to be simple. People we trust disagree about things. Our promises and responsibilities in one part of our lives sometimes conflict with those in other parts of our lives. And our experiences sometimes lead us to question beliefs we've held dear. And the list goes on. I've come to realize, however, and to give thanks for, a basic truth. A person's dignity and worthiness are not dependent on their success in getting any of this right. As a Christian, I believe that a person's dignity and worth rest on a divine foundation that transcends all of this. In my tradition, every human being is a child of God, and the rest of us, our whole society, has an obligation to treat every person as a child of God. This is one of the very unambiguous truths at the center of my faith. So much of the rest is passing, fleeting, always changing, even conflicting. In the midst of all the ambiguity, I believe we should focus on truths such as this: the dignity of every person. Let the ambiguous be ambiguous. Don't try to sort it out or order it. You won't be able to. If you do try, you're likely to do more harm than good. But you can move through ambiguity and in each moment choose to love recklessly the person in front of you and the neighbor in need. When you find ambiguity in yourself and in the world around you, hold on to this kind of truth, this unambiguous truth of human dignity. Yours and everyone else's too. Don't try to earn it or prove it. Instead, witness to it through your love and compassion. Love yourself. Love your neighbor. As it turns out, this takes courage. Our society is not set up to reward this perspective. It's everyone for themselves, all seeking some kind of competitive advantage that will enable more comfort or more power. Loving, when it's difficult to love, requires courage. You've been challenged in your courses, in the material they've presented, and in the self-reflection prompted in your assignments. You've been pressured to become more and more self-aware, to take long and honest looks at your habits, beliefs, faith communities, and other parts of yourself. You've honed critical and constructive ways of perceiving and thinking. You've cultivated a conscientious approach to your service and ministry. Now you're faced with the task of walking away from this place with your diploma in hand into a world that demands and requires your attention, an ambiguous world where you are called to cooperate with God's work of shining the light of love and justice. And it's not always going to be clear, so you must be courageous. Take the core truth of your faith and let that be your mainstay, your anchor, and move ahead with courage. Your faculty have seen you do this already. You have all of this within you. It's always been there, and you've never been alone. God is at work in you, and for a reason. We are proud of what you've accomplished in this stage of your journey, and we celebrate today with you and your families and friends. We each have seen you bring blessings into your communities. You've done a great thing, and you will do great things, and we celebrate with you. Now, go forth with courage to set this world on fire. I would like now to introduce our student speaker, Tisha Urban. Tisha is receiving her Master's of Divinity. Welcome, Tisha.
Thank you, Dean Jones. The spirit of Loyola is uniting us today, as it has throughout our whole journey of preparation. And I'm so honored and grateful to share this day with you as we celebrate graduation 2021. 7 years ago, I left behind a life that felt unfulfilling, and I awakened to one that was full and filling with God. I took a leap of faith, and I followed my calling into healthcare chaplaincy and ministry. And like all of you, I started school again. Answering my call and coming to Loyola was like answering a love letter from God. And saying yes has made all the difference. I've been working on my divinity and pastoral counseling degrees and journeying with many of you, whether on campus, online, or even in Rome. And I have been inspired by your yeses. Together, we have persevered with faith during the season of preparation, as we've been inspired by God and the communities that have supported us all along the way. I join you today in giving thanks to our loved ones, whether they're here or among the communion of saints. We've had wonderful people encouraging us, loving us, motivating us to keep answering our call. And I join you too in giving thanks to our gifted and devoted professors. We've had talented instructors guiding us, illuminating us, challenging us to live out our call in preparation. Our formation at Loyola has been a time of incubation, a time of learning and growing and transforming into who we're meant to be for God and God's creation. And I wonder, what has been formational for you along the way? Who and what have inspired you? And what feels like it's yours to do now? We are preparing now to launch our yeses and emerge from this time of incubation. We join the world in doing the same. The world is preparing to reemerge in a whole new way from this time of incubation. And it's hungry for healing, and it's thirsty for connection. We can help the world reemerge. We can help the church reemerge. And we can help God's people reemerge inclusively in a whole new way. This is a time unlike any other in our lifetime, and we are prepared to help the world reemerge in a whole new way. We are agents of change, ordained by God to go forth with love for the greater glory of God. And I wonder, what now will be yours to do? So with that, I would like to now introduce our keynote speaker, Father James Martin. He is a Jesuit priest, an author, an editor, a consultor to the Vatican's Dicastery for Communication, and he also studied philosophy at Loyola from 1990 to 1992. Welcome, Father Martin.
Hi, I'm Father Jim Martin, and first of all, congratulations on your graduation. I'm very happy to be with you here today. I am actually a fellow Rambler. Between 1990 and 1992, I spent 2 of the happiest years of my life at Loyola as a young Jesuit studying philosophy. I lived next to the lake at Arupe House Jesuit Community and took courses in the Crown Center and Dumbach Hall, studied at Cudahy Library, and went to Mass at Madonna della Strada, and really fell in love with the place, the campus, the people, and with Chicago. The winter weather was another story, however. Now, as a fellow Rambler, and as a bit of a gift to you, I'm going to make this a very short address, because the last thing that you probably want to watch is a long lecture on your computer, especially after the past year. So I'm not going to ask you to watch a 30-minute address. Instead, I'm going to ask you to look back over the year and draw some lessons from it with me, your fellow Rambler. The first lesson is about resilience. Despite your legitimate fears about the virus, despite your having to Zoom more than you could have dreamed, despite staying home more than you could have imagined, and despite not seeing as many friends as you would have liked, you survived. You probably had some moments of despair and tears, and maybe even lost some loved ones and friends. But here you are, as a graduate. Knowing that you are resilient can help you in future times of distress. You are more resilient than you think you are. Second, you've learned what is important. Now, I know that we all have things that we want to change about ourselves. We're all in process, and maybe you feel like you're too selfish, or too conceited, or too lazy, or too whatever. But in the last year, you've learned what's important, right? Friendship, family, love, courage, and maybe most of all, patience. A year ago, Pope Francis said that the pandemic wasn't God's judgment on us, meaning it's not some sort of cruel punishment for the world's evils, but it was an opportunity for us to judge what's important in our own lives. So now that you can look back over the last 4 years of your Jesuit education, an education that invites you to be a person for others and has given you so much, and this year, in which so much was taken from you, you have the opportunity to judge and to ask the question, what's important? How you answer that question will make you into a certain kind of person. What's important to you will define you. Third, you've learned something about God, I hope. Now, I know that not everyone is Catholic or Christian or even a believer who's watching me, but I am. So permit me to speak in some religious language. Over and over throughout the year, I've been asked where God is. And at times it's been easy to see. God is in the people who were on the front lines during the pandemic, the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers in their selfless generosity, risking their own lives, truly persons for others. God is in the dedicated scientists and technicians who spent long hours developing the vaccine. God is also in the less heralded people too. Maybe people you know, those whom Pope Francis calls the saints next door, who take care of aging or sick relatives, who try to call people who are lonely, who set up people for vaccines when they can't navigate the online portals. I bet you know some of these saints next door, especially if you've ever had a conversation with Sister Jean in your 4 years here. So God is in all these places. One place God was not, however, was in despair or hopelessness. As I guess you know by now, in Jesuit spirituality, we say that you can discern God's voice, how God is speaking to you. That doesn't mean you hear voices in a literal way, but rather interiorly, when you feel a certain impulse, you can, with practice, recognize what is coming from God and what is not coming from God. And what comes from God, says St. Ignatius Loyola, your alma mater's namesake and founder of the Jesuits, is always what leads to hope and encouragement. What is not coming from God is what leads to hopelessness and despair. So in the last year, I hope you've learned to trust that the voice of God is the voice of hope, never the voice of despair. That lesson should serve you well in the future. Hope comes from God. Despair never does. So 3 lessons I hope we've all learned this year. You're resilient, you know what's important, and you know how to listen to God's voice. I hope that helps you a bit as you leave Loyola and discover who God is calling you to be. In the meantime, in the words of St. Ignatius Loyola, go Ramblers.
Thank you so much, Tisha and Father Martin, for your wonderful remarks. Let's now recognize the individuals of the class of 2021 for their achievements. Congratulations again to you, the class of 2021. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Dean Jones. My name is Mike Canaris. I'm an assistant professor of ecclesiology and systematic theology here, and it's a great honor for me to present the graduates this year from the Institute of Pastoral Studies. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Divinity. Jose Trinidad Coronel Vilches Jr. Tisha Catherine Urban. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts of Christian Spirituality. Hillevi Ava Bergvall. April Michelle Michael. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts in Christian Spirituality, Spiritual Direction. Edgard Biancu. Thelma Garza. Suzanne Mull Hawkins. Gregory P. Hauk. William Christopher Matthews. Allison Umminger Madison. Temitope Felix Odesanu. Mark Nichols Oliveri. Allison Kraus Zavadny. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts of Contemporary Spirituality. Leonard Setkowski. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts in Counseling for Ministry. Natasha Richards. Ozochuke Ikachi Ogo. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts in Pastoral Counseling. Lydia M. DeWise. Elena Ibarra. Catherine M. Nimrod. Thomas Nimrod. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts in Pastoral Studies. Bill Beaker. Mary Pamela Ake. Sharon Patricia Hammond. Robert J. Jackson. Anastasia Jacobow. Roderick Chavez Laviste. Paul David Leon. Alexander Lupo. Lori Matlin. Patricia Mary McCarthy. Kristen Margaret McCosker. Du Hong Win. Andrew Wozniak. Maureen Joan Zeller. I would now like to present the candidates for the degree of Master of Arts in Social Justice. Diamari Aldridge. Mariah Leon Brown. Diana Gutierrez. Donald Patrick Moore. Claire Marie Portirala. I would now like to present the candidates for the certificate in pastoral counseling. Gregory G. McPhee. I would now like to present the candidate for the certificate in social justice. Rebecca Monique Medina. I would now like to present the candidate for the certificate in social justice and social enterprise. Maria Laura Marino Camargo. I would now like to present the candidate for the certificate in spiritual direction. Stacy Zurek.